Cheers, my friend. Dr. Red Matter.
Son of Anubis.
Welcome.
Thank you, sir. Thank you for having me.
To all of us, or to all of you that can't see us, we are just starting off this Conscious Matter podcast. Dr. Red Matter is joining us today. He's probably always going to be with us.
Live from Hollywood. We don't have our soundtrack music in yet.
Not yet, but we will steal music and play it without a copyright. We don't care. That's how we do. I am the son of Anubis. And you had a question earlier that we thought we would get to when the podcast started.
I thought we'd get to it right off the bat.
Right after this sip.
Is it Mr. Son of Anubis, Son of Anubis? The audience needs to know who is the Son of Anubis.
No prefixes. Son of Anubis. No Mr., no Miss, none of that stuff. But
Just
cheers.
the son.
S-O-N, not even S-U-N. You know how people try to get really interesting? Like, oh, I'm the son of Anubis. No. I am the actual physical born son of the Egyptian god of the dead, Anubis.
Let's just be clear for our audience. It's not a tribute. It's not something you've enjoyed in history. You're telling me you're the actual son of Anubis.
I have been incarnated into this reality.
I am glad that we waited to record to hear this because
from a 5,000-year-old.
Folks
scientist
out there, because I didn't know this. This is my brother and my partner, who I've known for a while now, and we are tight. And you've just listened to me learn some serious shit here.
You're taking it
son of Anubis. What is that?
I like that you're taking it with a grain of salt. You're not giving it any sort of.
I'm not questioning it necessarily because you've displayed all kinds of strange powers. So I'm.
Have you ever seen me levitate?
I have not seen you levitate yet.
That's because I can't do it, and I'm not afraid to admit that. I'm not afraid to admit it.
Okay.
We're still on the same plane.
Okay,
I don't have to be checked into a hospital.
Son of Anubis, not a levitator.
Not a levitator yet. Son of a mystic.
We'll drink a little bit more of that grog, and we'll see if you can't levitate. Should we tell them that we're while we do this cast, we're enjoying a fine. Our sponsor today is Bullet Bourbon.
Thank you, Bullet, for supporting ConsciousMatter.org, where we bring you nothing but truth.
From Kentucky Straight Bourbon Whiskey here, from Bourbon County, Kentucky. This is very tasty. Son of Anubis is enjoying his neat, and Dr. Red Matter is enjoying some on the rocks.
Was there a splash of water?
There was no splash of water today, because I put a lot of ice in.
That's good. You know, I don't like when people water down bourbon.
You know, I've had this debate as a former whiskey ambassador. And, you know, the Scott people will always add a little water with their whiskey, especially when you get in scotches to bring out flavors and tastes. I don't know if that's an American thing that people, you're going to ruin it by putting, water in there.
Just add water, the American thing.
Yeah, well, the European thing. A little water with your whiskey.
A little water with fluoride.
I say you should drink it how you enjoy it.
Without fluoride.
Right, without, well, who knows what's in the water here.
Whiskey, yes, with water. Bourbon? I don't agree. I just don't. Maybe it's me. Maybe it's Anubis. Let's go back to fluoridation in the water.
Let's jump back. We're ADD, but I like that. We're nonlinear.
Nonlinear.
So we know one thing about the son of Anubis, and that's he enjoys a whiskey drink.
Neat.
Okay.
It's actually bourbon, right?
All right, tell me, son of Anubis. So who's this Anubis character?
Okay, Anubis is the Egyptian god of the dead. After you die, you have to go see Anubis. He greets you with the face of a jackal and the body of a man.
A face of a who?
Jackal.
A jackal.
No one uses that word enough these days. Isn't that a beautiful word?
As in Jekyll and Hyde Jekyll.
Yes.
Okay.
Or as in Dr. Jekyll. Do you remember Dr. Jekyll?
I do remember Dr. Jekyll.
Same story that you just mentioned.
Right.
I like it. Now, Jekyll is a beautiful word, and if I was an improviser, I would want a team named Jekyll. It just kind of sounds...
I can get down with the team.
It sounds funny and dangerous at the same time. All right, fluoridation in the water is where Son of Anubis comes in. All I do is conspiracy theory as the son of the Egyptian god of the dead because, back to ADD-ness. What happens after your soul departs your body after, what is that called? Post-mortem, yeah. So the soul travels to the halls of Amenti.
Okay.
A-M-E-N-T-I.
Now, in the Egyptian tradition, forgive me for interrupting, do you need anything for your travels? Because isn't that the whole reason they bury gold and cats with the bodies so that when you cross over, you got something to pay the ferry master or the boat master, whoever brings you over to Anubis' crib?
Wow. You know, I thought it was just because they were wrong when they said you can't take it with you.
I think their whole philosophy is take the shit with you. You're going to need it.
Exactly. I think that is right. We've been duped.
I don't know if I buy into that yet. I'm not trying to pack my Lamborghini into the ground with me, but
You got a Lamborghini. That's nice.
I got to get it first.
Mm. Okay, so I don't know if about the golden stuff. This is one thing. The tomb was never in the pyramid. We as Westerners continue to think that pyramids were used as tombs for pharaohs. No bodies were ever recovered inside of a pyramid. Very interesting news.
Very interesting. I didn't know that.
Yeah, so they had burial grounds, and it was called like something of the kings. I forgot the actual name of the term, but there was a place where all these pharaohs were buried in the same area. I'll look that up and place it up on consciousmatter.org. Thank you for our sponsor, Bullet Bourbon. I'm looking for checks in the mail.
Very tasty.
Yeah.
It's a very tasty bourbon. But son of Anubis.
Yes.
Anubify me.
All right.
Tell me about this guy.
Okay, so back to the Jekyll face with the man of a body. He judges your soul, and this is how he does it. So when you go to the halls of Amenti, which are located under the Sphinx, if anybody cares to go and check on my word, it's under the Sphinx, 1 mile deep. Good luck digging. But there is the chamber, the halls of Amenti, where Anubis waits with all of your records, everything you've ever done in your life. And he has a balance beam. On one end of the beam is a feather. On the other scale is your heart.
Ooh.
That's how you're judged in the afterlife. What does that mean?
Well, it looks like we've got a little weights of justice thing going on here, right?
Against a feather.
I'm hearing, from what I know in Judeo-Christian culture, so he's like the Saint Pete of the Egyptian world.
Yes, he's at the gate.
He's waiting for you.
Yes.
You got to get by him.
Well, you got to get by a feather, not him. This is what's interesting. It's not, in say it again?
Christian.
Judeo-Christian, because I was going to say judo, and I would hate to do that. Judo-Christian. I'm going to change it. Let's go dojo.
Yeah.
Let's go dojo on this. Judo-Christian mythology, which I'll now start putting in all kinds of things together.
Well, I don't think St. Peter waits for Jews, per se, but for Christians.
Oh, I meant judo as in judo chop.
Oh, right. Judo chop, right.
Yeah. Well, I'm bringing MMA into this. If anybody wants to watch a fight with me next Saturday, hang out. We can pirate it online, free. So, he judges your soul against a feather. Your heart, your courage, your fears, everything against a feather. I think that feather might come from a chicken, I'm not sure. But what does that say about the human heart and all of these souls that have been incarnated into this world? Like, let's say the tombs or the pyramids were built. Well, the Sphinx was built 10,000 years ago. This is how it's been carbon dated. Pyramids, 5,000 years ago. All the pyramids have the information about the afterlife. What they'll do is they'll paint hieroglyphics that teach each pharaoh what the names of the guardians of the snakes are. There's like snakes you have to go through. This conversation could take 2 hours. That's why
we could go all over. So let me just bring in just so we keep on track. So you show up. Anubis is there. He's at his table. He's at his desk or whatever. And he's got what? He's got his book.
He's waiting for you on one knee, like you did a football picture in high school. You take one knee, take your football picture. He's waiting on one knee with a feather on one scale and your heart at the other. So then, we don't know past that what happens. After judgment, no one knows.
What happens for a good judgment? Is the heart weigh more? Does the feather weigh more?
Sure, you want to outweigh a feather. You definitely want to outweigh a feather. Maybe that's where the term featherweight comes from. A lot of fighting fans listening to this. I got to keep. I got to keep them current.
Right.
I got to keep them current. So that's basically after your death, you have 12 hours of traveling, and you meet 12 snakes that guard each temple that you have to enter. I don't know. I'm making stuff up at the moment. But I'm not. It's true to a degree. You do see some snakes in the afterlife that, this is all.
See a lot of snakes in the regular life, I'll tell you that, especially living in Hollywood.
You can't see them. That's the beautiful thing about a snake is that they are so camouflaged into their environment. Let's talk about environment, you know?
Well, hold on here. Wait. We got a big question out on there.
Okay.
If I'm not mistaken, earlier in the podcast, you said that you are a direct descendant of Son of Anubis.
Yes.
You're the son of Anubis.
I am the son of Anubis.
Yeah, let's not just skip over there.
Okay.
Come on.
Okay, so people in everyday life, they tend to walk around and think they are someone. I am a Williams. I am a Fernando. I am a something. Everybody thinks they are something. That is only your physical being. Your physical being has a name. And whatever your last name is kind of usually dictates who you become in life. Have you ever heard of that?
I've heard of it, but you mean it has a direct effect on environment, personality? What are you getting at?
Well, everything is perception in this three-dimensional world we live in.
Mm-hmm.
Everything is perception. So, if you're up against two equal people, let's say two people are up for a job, head-to-head, they're equal in every possible way, they even look alike. One's last name happens to do with winning, and the other's last name happens to do with losing. Some sort of correlation. You know, like let's take a name that is related to winning. Something like Vicksburg. Vicksburg sounds very successful. Versus a last name of Homely.
Homely.
Yeah. Hi, I'm George Homely.
Because of its implications based on language.
Exactly.
What we know those words to mean.
Exactly. So the mind must categorize everything it has ever encountered. Otherwise, you'd be a crazy person because you'd be talking out of categories. You wouldn't understand how to react in certain situations. Then you would have to be put away in a little hospital somewhere where you have to take medicine that keeps you calm.
Right.
So, in order for the mind to categorize every possible thing, it must find a good or a bad. Because in the end, the mind says good, bad, person, good, bad.
No gray area. It's black or white.
Well, for the subconscious, it's completely black or white.
So what happens if you've got these two people and you're saying in every way they're equals?
In every way, they're equals, except one's name tends to make you feel more comfortable and trusting, and the other name tends to make you feel more distrusting and separated. So the person with everything going for them has a better chance of securing whatever it is. That's why actors change their names all the time, stage names.
Because you think, like, say, for example, a short name that's more direct and to the point, easier to remember, is more efficient in the acting world as opposed to having some crazy long name with multiple syllables.
Well, maybe that isn't the exact point of it. Like, look at a person with three names, like Eddie Olmos. Edward James Olmos.
Love that guy.
If he said, hi, I'm Eddie, different than I'm Edward James Olmos. So your name carries a lot of power, and so does language. Now we're getting into witchcraft.
That's why I'm Dr. Red Matter.
You are the Dr. Red Matter.
I'm the
Dr. Red Matter.
Of Red Matter.
Speaking of which, tell me about recessive genes.
Oh, well, there's recessive genes. Well, I could draw you a Punnett square, but no one in the audience would be able to see it. But, basically, to say, for example, the people with the least, the smallest population on the planet are, of course, not black, not Pacific Islanders. They're
mestizos.
You might be right about that.
I might be.
I was thinking redheads. I was thinking gingers.
You mean to tell me you've been my friend for so many years and generations and eons, and I've never known that you're an actual minority?
I am less than 2% of the world's population at this point.
That makes your stock go up.
It does, although not according to a recent study they did in England, where nobody at the sperm bank wanted red-haired sperm.
In England?
No, I'm sorry. In the places where it was still in somewhat of demand was Scotland and Ireland, and I think some parts of Britain, but I could be mistaken about that. But basically, the world over, nope. People are afraid because there's been a stigma attached. Part of what Dr. Red Matter's here to do is to reverse that.
Reverse the trends, Dr. Red Matter. What we need is more red-haired babies. How do you make a red-haired baby? Tell me that.
Well, this is where it's hopefully it doesn't fall under profiling, but I mean, it's very simple science as far as I know, and that is you need double recessive, you need recessive with recessive, so you need blue-eyed, blonde-haired people mating with redheads, or best case scenario is redhead on redhead love. I mean, that's just your basic science, survival of the species.
Red on red love is something I can support fully. I haven't seen any movies with two love interests that are red on red. Perhaps this is one of the causes, because as we know, society is very, very malleable and very impressionable. So if you start seeing redheads dating each other, it starts taking care of itself.
It's a very odd thing, isn't it? It's because obviously it takes reds to make reds. You don't question two people with dark hair together.
No, it's not
or even two blondes. But when you see two redheads, oh, look, that guy is with his sister. Or
it does look like freakishly close family.
It's crazy.
Because it's so rare.
But if you want the biggest chance of making a redhead, it would be two redheads. Now, if you just go by double recessive, so someone's a blonde-haired, green eyes, and she's with a male who's got red hair, blue eyes, you've got a lot of little R's in your Punnett square, and the chances increase. You could still get a blonde in there. You could get a blonde with blue hair eyes. I mean, we could do the Punnett square. We could do the math on it. But basically, it's when you get those dominant genes in. Now, if I'm getting together with son of Anubis here, there's a chance that red's going to skip because he's got some nice dominant brown genes.
Melanin. I'm melanin heavy, people. For you out there that can't see me, I happen to be a mixture of two races, one being very melanin heavy, one being very melanin light. Actually,
but both being very beautiful. It's a very handsome
you.
devil here.
Thank you. You know, what we do is we create faces for radio at consciousmatter.org. You are a good-looking man yourself, Mr.
Thank you.
Dr. Red Matter, sorry.
Yes. And if you didn't catch on, I'm a red man.
Yes. Everybody, you should get a piece of this red velvet cake, if you know what I mean. All right, so back to our sponsor. We're 15 minutes into consciousmatter.org. This is the pilot episode. What we're trying to do here is drink bourbon, bullet bourbon, that is. And when we drink bullet bourbon, we talk metaphysical, we talk hip-hop, we talk spirituality, we talk ascension, we talk hidden knowledge, and we talk sacred geometry. That's right, the flower of life just made its first.
And if I may, we thought Bullet would be a good whiskey to start drinking with on the podcast, because right on the bottle of Bullet, it says flat out, it's a frontier whiskey. And that's what we want to get to, man. We want to cross some frontiers. We want to boldly go where some cats maybe have gone, haven't gone. We want to cross some frontiers and just break some ground and have a conversation.
The art of conversation, I want to thank a improviser at a very local community called the IO West. And if you don't know what that is, I'm sorry. I'm just not going to ever learn it. However,
they can Google that shit.
They can, IO West. It's iowestimprov.com, actually. You can go check out a lot of talented shows and people. However, there was a gentleman who I will leave nameless because I didn't ask his permission. However, he brought back the art of conversation for me in a show where they actually played Never Have I Ever. The art of conversation is a beautiful thing, and what does that really mean? Well, the son of Anubis will break it down for you like this. 18 minutes into the conversation and the podcast, you have been enlightened. You have been taken to a whole new universe that you've never been to before, and you're not even drinking any bourbon. Why would you not listen to the podcast?
They could be drinking bourbon, and I hope they're drinking bourbon, because this is made from pure Kentucky limestone-filtered water, and it's in the Bullet family tradition. It says it right here on the label. I'm just reading off here. It's 45% alcohol by volume, 90 proof.
Wow.
It's getting me a nice little...
That's an A, if you ask me. 90 proof means that's an A.
While we pause here, while you're about to break it down, I'm going to pour us another one.
Please do, sir.
Yes.
Thank you, Barkeep. As Dr. Red Matter pours a little bit of the liquid courage that we need to survive in this world, we talk about something called fluoridation in the water. Now, are you familiar with fluoridation in the water, my kind friend? Thank you.
Somewhat. I know it's good for your teeth.
This is a myth.
Is this bullshit that it's not good for your teeth?
This is actual bullshit that it is not good for your teeth. Cheers to you, sir.
Cheers.
Oh, as we do it again, this podcast continues. The podcast must go on.
I can get into this podcasting thing here if this is what we get sponsored. I like this.
We will get sponsorships. Your commercial goes here. That's how we do billboard advertising. You know what I mean?
Yes, indeed.
So fluoridation in the water. They take fluoride, which is known to calcify your pineal gland. Remind me to tell you about the pineal gland right after I get through with this rant.
Not to be mistaken with my pineal gland.
Not the pineal gland.
Pineal.
Pineal gland, absolutely. And that's very important for your everyday life. We'll talk about that in a second. Fluoridation in the water calcifies it. What does calcify mean? It means it kills it. That's what it does. Now, your fluoride is something. This is fluoride history. Americans didn't always have fluoride in the water. There was a time in the 50s when people were happy.
People drank out of creeks, frontiersmen.
You know what I mean? Then a law passed that made fluoride in the water legal. This happened after World War II because they figured out that in the concentration camps they were adding fluoride to the water to sedate all of the victims.
Get out of here. Is that
Fluoride
right?
is a sedative. Fluoride is a sedative, and it goes into your mouth, into your gums, into the bloodstream immediately. First thing in the morning, sedate, and then again after lunch, sedate, and then before you go to sleep, you sedate. So basically, you are taking in a sedative 3 times a day at least. And,
Dr. Red Matter wonders about this.
Fluoridation there's never been a test or an accurate study that shows fluoride is good for your teeth. How can fluoride be good for your teeth if you just think about a naturalistic human life? Where on earth did a human need fluoride in his evolution? Because we continue to have good teeth until we destroy them with sugars,
Right.
until we destroy them with horrible eating habits and dirty
But if we know these sugars do these bad things, why is it not possible that we know fluoride is a good vitamin? Just like taking vitamins, it's good for your teeth.
As a human being, you understand what sugar does to your body because, number one, you feel it. Let's say you had a chocolate fest. After the chocolate fest is over, you don't feel great. Number one, you know you're not going to do it again repeatedly. Number two, with fluoride, your body doesn't have an instant reaction because it is something that happens to you over time. I'm not saying the next time you brush your teeth, you're going to feel sedated. I'm going to say you've been brushing your teeth since you were 6 years old, and that has been a sedative.
But now, are you implying that there's a reason that they want this sedative? Are you trying to say this is to keep the people down?
This is the man working his magic. First of all, how do you enslave a race? A race. You don't let them know they're enslaved. You give them freedom, but their freedom costs money. And how do you keep a race sedated and oppressed? You keep information and you apply drugs. You keep information and you apply drugs. This is how you sedate a whole race. I'm talking about millions of people. I'm not just talking about 20 people at a church.
You know I drink tap water.
Well, it has a lot of fluoride in it. And even these filters don't get the fluoride out. You have to do reverse osmosis to get the fluoride out.
Got a lot of reading to do.
Well, let me tell you about the pineal gland now that we're getting to it. Tell me how familiar you are with it so I know where to start.
Let's assume I'm not familiar with it.
The pineal gland is the utmost center point of your brain.
Okay.
Have you ever been told anything about the utmost center point of your brain through a biology class?
No, but I have on mushrooms.
Right. Okay. Mushrooms are a nice segue here. We'll get to that in a second. Maybe that's how. Terence McKenna. I'm going to drop a Terence McKenna bomb right now. Are you familiar with Terence McKenna?
No, speak Jav.
Oh well, Terence McKenna is probably our guiding light with hallucinogenics and psychedelics. He passed away maybe about 10 years ago or so. Sorry for not knowing the exact date, but rest in peace, Terence McKenna. What a pioneer. What a revolutionary. He studied psychedelics. He told us that perhaps human consciousness has been developed and the size of the human brain has become what it is due to mind-expanding psychedelics. How do we know this from what we know? Well, take a look back at the 1500s and the 1600s. What did people wear? They all wore, well, what did advanced people wear in society? The monks, the priests, the religious leaders. What did they wear? They wore hats that resembled mushrooms.
I'm just picturing that.
Right? I mean, they did.
Well, I mean,
I wish I had, graphics for you to look at right now, but if you look back, they wore hats that resembled mushrooms.
They're mushroom worshippers.
Not only mushroom worshippers, but believers that mushroom is, or psychedelics and hallucinogenics are a way to enlightenment.
Well, how do you know they weren't like, big dickheads or something, I mean, mushroom caps, that could be mistaken throughout history,
For a tip of a dick. Well, that brings me to another notion. Sexuality. As part of science, medical science, I should say, no one has a grasp of what's going on with human sexuality. No one has a clue what's going on. No matter what kind of degree you've earned, you don't know a damn thing about human sexuality. Why is that, my friend? I'll tell you. No one knows a damn thing about it.
I don't know. The doctor is in. Dr. Red Matter may think he knows something about human sexuality and the human condition.
Paging Dr. Red Matter, to room 69.
Oh, hey, I'm here.
Well, doctor. Is that a gun in your pocket, or are you just happy to see me?
The trouble is that, besides, obviously, we've got a wealth of things to talk about here.
Yes.
We've got, but to bring it in, I still want to go back to the son of Anubis.
Okay, back to the son of Anubis.
Because we have a lot of tangents. We got tons of stuff, infinite things we can talk about, but I want to clarify that name. Why you are the son of Anubis.
Well, the son of Anubis incarnated into this life thrice. Not twice, but thrice. Once as Hermes Trismegistus, once as Thoth, and once as Anubis. The same character incarnates into our world 3 times in order to help advance society. The advancement of society is all I tend to care about. I don't care about self anymore. I have no more selfish desires. I have blossomed. The lotus petals are open. I am what I have always been, which means there's no need to search within for any answers. Now I can look outward. Looking outward, I can observe the universe. See, there's a lot of human beings that are not observing the universe. They are merely living life. Living life is all-absorbing, all-encompassing, all about you, and it never tends to stop. The self-image, the self-worth, the self-reassurance and justification of why do you belong on this planet? How did you get here? Who are you, and what is your spirit? These questions are not anything that occupy my mind any longer. Because
you don't. That doesn't trouble you. You don't want to know what my purpose is, what my meaning is. You're past that.
I have resigned my government name. I pay taxes to keep my government body out of prison. Because if you don't pay your taxes, Wesley Snipes, you're going to go right to jail. Right? That is how you earn your freedom in this country. Because to enslave a race, you have to make them pay for their freedom. And yes, we pay for our freedom.
Well,
tell me we don't.
I'm not saying we don't pay for a certain degree of freedom, but I also believe that, there's some things that come along with the social contract, like drinkable tap water, whether it's got fluoride in it or not, that's part of the social contract, right?
It is.
Some John Locke type stuff, where we all agree you don't kill people. We all agree you don't kill in society, and trickle down, and of course we've got our problems, but basically that secures certain laws, secures certain things, so that I'm supposed to go to my tap, pour a glass of water, and I shouldn't have to worry about it.
Well, it won't kill you, but it will calcify your pineal gland. And what is the purpose of the pineal gland? I love how you bring me back to different discussions because I will travel. I will go 5-dimensional on you. It doesn't matter to me anymore. And I love what you're doing. The pineal gland, what is it responsible for? Why is it in the utmost centerpiece of your brain? Why is it the size of a pea when it should be the size of an acorn? That is, when it is the size of an acorn, the Sphinx is built. When it is the size of an acorn, pyramids are erected all over the world in a straight line. A line that you can draw, it's called a ley line. You can draw that on a map and see every pyramid that has ever been built is in a straight line across the world.
Interesting.
Why is that? Well, there's plenty of reasons, and it's not a tune for pharaohs.
I got a hunch. I got an idea what it is.
So the pineal gland is the way you see. Your eyes are not the way you see.
All right, he's getting deep.
Your eyes, once you open your eyelids, you allow light to come into your eyes. Your iris and your cornea, everything starts receiving light. You're only receiving light through your eyes. You are not seeing physical space. The pineal gland, in a temple of darkness, surrounded by your left and your right hemisphere, has a projector. And inside your head, in total darkness, you see the outside world, due to the light that is refracted in and around the objects outside. So you've never seen space, you've never seen the ball you catch. It has all been inside of your head.
It's all playing out inside your head is what you're saying.
Exactly. So you open up the blinds.
And you're trying to say the government's trying to shrink my little projector here.
Yes. Well, your pineal gland is your spirit. It is the way you see the world. So if that is sedated and calcified, then you are just a cog in the machine. You're just another leg on the centipede. See, the government is the centipede and we are the legs. We are paying taxes every time you buy a piece of gum, every time April 15th comes around, you're paying taxes. You pay tax for everything you like. Everything you want, you pay a tax for. So,
but what do those taxes get us?
The things we want.
Paved roads.
Yes, fluoride in the water.
Fire, police, emergency response.
Potholes in the road, or emergency response that takes too long and people die. These are the things, I love your point of view versus mine.
Well, it's true. I mean, we pay, that's the social contract. I mean, hey, I like a good, cheers. I like a good healthy suspicion, and I do love a good, that's the whole thing, especially in America, question everything and get somewhere. Which, by the way, all this makes me think of this I think we should address this guy. You were probably thinking maybe is he courageous? Is he not courageous? This guy who exposed all these cables recently to basically say that our government is keeping a record of every phone conversation, everything we do, emails. It's all there. They're saying, well, we don't really look at the conversation unless we need to, but if we have to, it's there because we've got so much space. Technology's come so far. We can put all these little things, and I'm going to use an old term, but like a tiny little microchip or whatever it is, a nano chip, right? And it's all there. So basically, I've talked to some friends about this, and they say, well, if you're not into some evil shit, what do you have to worry about? It's kind of where I come out on it for the most part, because What am I going to do? Not talk on my phone? At this point, am I not going to communicate through email?
You're definitely going to continue to sext. I know that.
That's right. Well, that's right. And, and there's some brilliant kids coming out with some apps that allow that to happen a little bit better, a little bit faster. It disappears after 15 seconds. These 20-year-old college kids, they've got a party house in Venice, and they've come up with the sexting app. I can't remember the name of it. I think you were telling me about this. But now I'm on a tangent. What I'm saying is, how do you go? Is that something to worry about them knowing everything? I mean, you pay your taxes so that we have to remain safe, right?
Well, I go back and forth on privacy. No one has ever had any privacy. When has anyone ever had any privacy? We've never had any privacy. We have privacy, right?
I think if I can hear you correctly, you're saying privacy is a bit of an illusion.
Privacy is a complete illusion.
It's an illusion, Michael.
It's an illusion.
So a little Arrested Development.
I saw the whole season. I binged it.
Oh, did you?
Yeah, I'm gonna turn some water on.
I gotta watch it. Okay.
People like the sound of water. That's
Fluoride water. That's fluoride
that's
water
pure
right there.
fluoride.
Don't drink that.
All right, that felt better.
I like this water
I
we're
give
drinking here.
restaurant
It's fire water. It's very tasty. In fact, I think it's time to let everyone know once again. We are sipping on some Bullet Bourbon Frontier Whiskey.
I think we should just do a commercial. Right now, we're going to improvise a commercial for Bullet Bourbon. We're going to get a suggestion from the audience, and the audience says the first word that I can read on my cell phone text message is the suggestion, and it is great.
Great.
How funny is that?
Well, we're drinking great Bullet Bourbon Whiskey. And no bullshit, it's great.
I'm going to text, and then we're going to do a commercial. And the commercial is going to go like this. The suggestion is great, so we're gonna open on a commercial, and our suggestion is great. Ever wake up in the morning feeling groggy? Drink bourbon. There's your commercial.
I like that. I think you should get the brand name in there, though, somewhere. Bullet.
What's
Ever wake up in the morning and feel like putting a little bullet in your brain? That probably doesn't work as well. That's all right. Cancel my commercial.
They've pulled us. They've pulled their.
Just pulled their sponsorship. Well, that's what I'm doing, right? I'm putting it into my bloodstream, letting it go to my brain.
Put a bullet in your brain.
And by the way, let us remind you to drink Bullet very responsibly.
Put a bullet in your brain very responsibly.
Very responsibly. If you're going to put a bullet in your brain, this is the one to use. I think they've got a couple flavors, but today, are we with the traditional one here?
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
It's beautiful. It's got the orange label, distilled, aged, and bottled by the Bullet Distilling Company. Oh, boy. What, can I give them a plug here? We got www.drinkiq.com, and that's a website to tell you how to drink responsibly, which is what we're talking about.
Responsibility is something that the son of Anubis preaches, because getting back to the pineal gland where we were, does anybody believe me, or did they think that I'm making this up?
I think they're confused like I am about the pineal glands. I think we're probably all a little bit
This
wondering.
is a recap. The eyes open, the eyelids open, and they allow light to come in. You don't actually see the physical object. You have never seen what I look like in a quantum physical.
It's like we're talking, if the tree falls in the woods, doesn't make a sound. We're talking about different planes of consciousness, perception.
Well, there's an agreement we are all agreeing upon in this plane.
Right.
We live in this dimension, all agreeing that, okay, you look like that, I'm going to see you like that too.
Right. But for all I know, you could see me looking something different.
Right.
But that's also like saying, and again, it's like going, well, I've never been to China. I've never traveled to China. I've heard about it in classrooms. I've seen it on the map. And I had, until 2 years ago, I'd never been to where some of my relatives hail from, which is Ireland. Now, I believed that Ireland was there, and I believed that China was there on a map, although I hadn't physically been there. And, what happened? I went to Ireland. Sure enough, goddammit, it was there. So that's like, now I could tell you could tell me all day that China's not there, and I don't have any proof that it's there. But, come on, it's like, in this plane, I'm pretty sure China's there.
All right. China is there. I will confirm.
Okay.
What isn't there is a single atom. You know what that means? That means, yes, China's there. It's a huge land mass, and it has billions of people on it.
But there's probably a lot of Changs.
Well, not only Changs.
That's a little Adam Chang joke.
Not only Adam Changs, but you're going to have Adam Chings. You can have Adam Chongs. There's a lot of Ching Chong.
No. You meant Cheech and Chong.
Cheech and Chong up in smoke.
You meant Adam like ATOM, like atoms and molecules.
Correct.
And
Correct.
nucleus, yeah.
Not
ADAM.
We're talking about the quantum mechanics. We are talking about what is there truly, and when you look close enough, there's nothing there. There is nothing there. So sure, China on a big map, on a big picture, is there. But when you go closer and closer and closer into a quantum level, there's nothing there. No, nothing can be found. Nothing can ever be broken into two pieces. Nothing can be seen under the most powerful microscopes. There's actually space. There's nothing there. So what that means is your 50 trillion cells that combine to make you the piece of human being that you are, quite a fine piece.
Thank you.
Once you look close enough, there's actually nothing there.
Well, that's where these conversations get so very deep. With the internet, you see these different memes and things where you can zoom in and they take you past the atom level, the subatomic level, and smaller and smaller. And like you're saying, there's still space in there, which you start to go, well, is this conversation taking place? I mean, are we listening to this? Is this some strange... I'm conscious, right? So it's got to be taking place on some level.
Well, what if, and you know what? You don't listen to us so that we can tell you about one thing. You listen to us so we can tell you about 85 different things, and we never finish a single fucking...
Yeah, and it's just it's Noah's Ark here. This is the launch.
Right.
So we're wanting to Jackson Pollock this. We want to go all over the place and rein it back in as we go. But right now, we don't want to hold ourselves back. We want to jump around.
So repeat your question for me, please. Is this conversation really happening? Is this
because
happening?
I think what you're getting at is, when you break things down, the human body, travel, the earth, perception, you get all these crazy different concepts. It's like, well, for me, for a guy who's kind of, I'm a little meat and potatoes, it's like, well, what are we talking about? You're trying to say, like, because there's space at that subatomic level, that maybe it's just all space. If it's nothing, who made the nothing? These are the big questions, is there a guy in the sky with a beard, and is he calling the shots? Is he, or are we just calcium deposits and hydrogen atoms and oxygen atoms just walking around?
Well, this is how it goes. Everyone has their theory that you are awake, and then you're asleep. However, I don't believe in that because I'm the son of Anubis. This is what I believe. I believe everything is always happening. What does that mean? That means it's chaos. It's a controlled chaos. What is chaos theory really? That means you're always asleep. That means you're always awake. That means you're always falling asleep. That means you're always waking up. That means everything is truly always happening. That means you're always having an orgasm. That means you're always about to have an orgasm. That means you just had an orgasm. This is true life for me. It is a chaos theory.
I'm pretty sure that I have not just had an orgasm.
I think you just had an orgasm.
Maybe a mental orgasm. I like what you're doing, but I'm pretty sure that I have not had one. But
well, that's what I mean. But in relative terms,
okay.
You did just have one. Whether it was 6 hours ago, or 8 hours ago, or 10 hours ago, or 45 hours ago, or 3 months ago,
right.
you kind of did just have one because when you look at the timeline,
you're talking about some like space-time continuum type.
I'm looking at the bigger picture.
Okay.
At the bigger picture, when a woman shows up to work, she just got fucked. Because she either had morning sex, or night sex, or sex 4 months ago. However, when she shows up to work, she actually just got fucked.
Okay.
Because she's going to act like she just got fucked.
Okay.
Because she wants to have just been fucked. And that is for man and woman. Wait, we're going deep.
No, I want to follow you. Go ahead.
Yeah, we're going deep. So we're talking about the psyche. We're
Okay.
talking about the psyche. You don't show up to a party acting like you've never had sex. You show up to a party like you just got a blowjob from 3 hot chicks. You don't walk around acting like you've never had a blowjob from 3 hot chicks. You actually have swag, and I have hated that word for so long, ever since it first came out. But I'm going to use it just because, you know what, I'm going to stay current with the times, and I can see my cat sleeping in weird positions. So, swag. You can't show up to a party, or work, or a date, or a hangout as if you've never gotten laid. You actually show up as if you just got laid. So what does that mean? That means you're always having an orgasm. That means you always just had an orgasm. And that means always you're about to have an orgasm, which means my chaos theory is actually correct on a very large scale. On a large scale, when you say, oh, today's taking forever to end, but then you think, how long did it take for last month to end? It actually just flew by, didn't it?
Flew by.
But this moment is lasting forever.
Sure.
Which means last month just ended, it's just beginning, and it's still happening right now. Which means there's no concept of time, which means...
Folks, we're not even on drugs.
Oh my God. Actually, I medicate with the 420. I do medicate with the 420.
One of us is not on drugs.
However, at this moment, I am drug-free.
Okay, very good. This is some deep stuff, though.
It's beautiful. We're 45 minutes in. We're going to give Bullet a plug, and then we're going to send them a copy of this podcast and tell them, hey, Bullet, pay us. Pay me. I'm going to wear shoes that says
Yeah.
"Pay me, bullet."
We might want to get one or two or three, and before we send it to Bullet, we don't want them to think we're total nuts promoting their whiskey. But we'll see.
Wow.
We can see. We're working it out. I mean, this could be a nice back issue once we get it down a little bit. People come back to this and go, "Oh, well, that was the cool one. Look how, they were all over the place. They're crazy in that first one."
Pick a topic that we have touched on that I have not finished upon.
I don't think you've told me yet why
Son of Anubis?
you're the fucking son of Anubis.
He incarnated
in a real in this plane.
Yes.
You are the actual physical
No.
son of
Mentally in a spiritual plane, not
okay.
on a physical. No, I come from a man who I don't really care about.
Okay.
However, on my spirit, who is the father of my spirit?
The red gene, the red genetics have passed through many a man that I didn't care about. But the point is, as long as it gets me here to you, with the bright red head of hair that I have,
Who cares?
sometimes you got to take the good with the bad.
It's all relative, right? It's all relative. Well, so yeah, I just mean on a spiritual plane because I don't tend to agree with my family. I don't tend to agree, especially with my father, upon anything created in this universe. We have completely different perspectives. He comes from a place where you are told what is real, and then you believe it. I come from a place where I don't believe anything is real. I don't believe...
Well, I think that's nice to touch on really quick because when I started to touch on the social contract, I think that's one of the most beautiful things about where we live, and I'd like to, because I know we're in a cynical society, I'd like to say, generally, we have a nice chance at a nice life. I mean, that's the social contract. The fact that you can question that shit, you can say, I don't agree with my pop's way. Right. I get to question all this stuff. It's not this way just because someone told me it was.
Well, exactly. And what does that mean? Everything is perception. That means, is there such a thing as parenting? Were you parented? You were not parented. You were born, came out the womb. As soon as you learned your language, you were your own boss.
My mother would have a lot to say to you right now, son of Anubis.
That means it's true.
Yeah, she'd be meeting the. She'd be like, "That's the son of Claire, and you are in trouble."
I'm sorry, Claire, and may I please still come over for dinner? Bangers and mash.
No, I know what you're saying. I get that. I was reading actually an interesting article online today. It was where I saw it in my Facebook feed, which is the name of the website is I Fucking Love Science, which is great.
Great.
And they always post great links to articles. And today they were talking about unlocking. I don't know if this is the right term. I don't know my science terms, but genome or whatever they were doing with DNA.
The genome.
Well, they were unlocking the Darwinism versus the Freud, the environment versus the biogenetics.
Yes.
And they were combining them. So there's these studies going on that are basically saying, if you have a tendency towards depression or whatever it may be, that they're saying that if your grandmother, for instance, or your grandfather was, maybe suffered an abuse or was an alcoholic or whatever, that they're finding these the things on the genes which are not I'm going to explain this wrong, but basically you got to read the article, but
okay.
Basically you're affecting your gene pool, right? So it links on there and it's like a little attachment to the gene, so that even when it skips a generation, they're saying that both, it could be part environment, but they're saying now more than ever it could actually be genetically, that you are genetically have a disposition to suffer depression because your grandmother suffered something and it lasted so long that it actually made an imprint on your being. So what I'm saying is the things we do in daily life make a lasting thing. And then you can get into why so many people are getting cancer and all this kind of stuff, but it's a physical effect.
I think this, Dr. Red Matter, what you do physically affects your biology.
Sure.
This is absolutely true. People who participate in happy events have a happier, healthier biology. People who participate in morbid and destructive and sad.
But again, we're always going to differ on what those things are. Right?
True.
But yes, but basically, happy chemicals versus negative chemicals. What you're putting through the gas tank, what you're pumping through the system is going to affect you.
It all leads back to intention. Why are you going out with those people? Because, what is your intent? Is your intent to be accepted by society? So you go along as a follower and you go and go with 3 guys and break car windows and steal radios? Knowing deep down inside this isn't your biology, knowing deep down inside this isn't your happiness, but you happen to be in that moment and you got stuck and you went with it. Now this is an action that changes your biology.
Do you think that there's a human condition that when we're born, that naturally, say, we are programmed to find happiness? Or would you say it's just different for different people?
I would say this. I don't think happiness comes naturally to a human being. Otherwise, we'd be laughing a lot. We have a belly laugh once in a while, which means it isn't a natural process for the human to experience happiness. Which means, what is natural for a human being? If it isn't happiness, is it sadness? No, because we're not generally sad most of the time, unless you're clinically depressed. That's a different story.
You're saying we have more of a resting state that's neutral, and we're affected by stimuli one way or the other, negative.
Exactly.
Positive.
The human condition to be at the most productive state of humanity, you must be at homeostasis. Homeostasis is even keel. It isn't, hi, I'm the most positive person at the party. And it isn't, hey, I'm the most negative person at the party. It is homeostasis. It is the person that if you walk up to them, you can't adjust their attitude. You can't make them happy, and you can't make them sad. That is a god. When you walk up to that person who's sitting in pure homeostasis, like just, you know what? I am unaffected. This is what I am. This is who I am, and this is what I do. Then you are unaffected by your environment, which means God is unaffected by his own environment. Which means you are now acting as a god.
Now, I love this, and just so the audience realizes that I do realize that we are touching on a lot of different subjects, which is awesome. But that made me think, I want to know, what's a typical routine for the son of Anubis? I mean, to get himself in the right space.
The son of Anubis believes in one thing. Drink, marry, for tomorrow...
I'm sorry, go ahead. Drink?
I'm sorry. Drink and be merry.
Oh, be merry, not
Yes.
married. Big difference there, folks.
Huge. Sorry.
We could have sent you down the wrong path if you're following our advice.
Thank you, bullet to the head burger. What I meant was, drink and be merry, for tomorrow you shall die.
Hold on. Did you just drop some fucking Dave Matthews on me?
I did not. I actually dropped.
Because I'm going to call it out if that's the case.
I actually dropped Anubis.
Okay.
As Thoth, thank you. As Thoth, Anubis left us. That's good. Thank you. He left us 13 emerald tablets. Have you ever heard about the 13 emerald tablets, my friend?
Oh my God, good God, no. But let me pour this.
Please do.
This bullet to the head.
Maybe you need some ice. I don't mind getting the ice.
Oh, no, I'll get the ice. I can get the ice.
Okay. The 13 emerald tablets were found in the Sphinx. Now, these are tablets dubbed the emerald tablets because they have a color and a tone of emerald.
Okay.
However,
I've got cord. I'm going to walk over.
yes, you've got plenty of space. These tablets are special for a reason. They are made of a matter not found on Earth.
This reminds me of those the Shikara stones that Dr. Jones gets in Temple of Doom.
Yes.
Something like that.
Pretty much that's where it comes from.
Okay.
That's exactly where it comes from, the idea. They are indestructible. They are non-malleable. You can pour acid on these tablets and it will not change composition.
Interesting.
They are the 13 emerald tablets of Thoth. You can all look this up on Google. These are 13 tablets left for humanity, and it says lots of outlandish stuff. Number 1, there are reptilians living among us. Number 2, Thoth is real, and he left these actual tablets for us. Now, the people who still don't understand who the Egyptian god of the dead is, he's a person that left us 200 remedies for flowers
For
and
our
plants.
bullet bourbon drinkers who are drinking along with us,
Yes.
You mentioned reptilians.
Reptilians.
Is everyone aware of what reptilians are?
A reptilian is a shape-shifting being that goes from original place of being a reptile-ish character to a human with chameleon-like deceptive...
And You know, folks, I'm not sure, but I may be with one. Because if any one of them is going to be among us, I'm keeping my eye on you.
Hey, I blink to the side versus up and down. So it says a lot of really interesting things. It's 13 tablets, but I don't care what's written on the tablets because I can't decipher it anyway. You know who did decipher it? Sir Isaac Newton.
Newton, he had it down.
Sir Isaac Newton deciphered the 13 emerald tablets. And you can look it up. What he says they are. It's his own definition of the 13 emerald tablets. So, being an alchemist like he was, and being the person who discovered gravity, Sir Isaac Newton, I think there's some weight to what these tablets say. And the 13 emerald tablets are
Definitely
very
going to look that up.
Yeah.
Definitely going to look that up.
That was a tangent.
Yeah,
it's
that's
55 minutes in. I thought you should know this.
Okay.
I have an unfair advantage of seeing the clock, which means I know when the herald ends. However, Dr. Red Matter, I must say this. You've been a fantastic co-host. You've been a fantastic idea generator, and you've been a fantastic interview.
Well, thank you. This is fun. That, like you said, time, 55 minutes, it's flown by. It's almost like we've time traveled.
You know what? That is how you bend space and time. They say, how do you bend space and time? Let's say person A wrongs person B. Then he says to person B, I am very sorry. Person B at point C says, you are forgiven, which means point A has never happened.
Yes, that's going to be one of our t-shirts, by the way, when the merch section is up and running. Bending space and time with fun.
with forgiveness.
Okay.
That's how you bend space and time, is you forgive. All right, so the pineal gland is how you actually see the world.
I love the nonlinear brains here. We'll just jump back to pineal gland.
That's what I went to Final Cut school for, so I can learn how to jump in time. So yeah, the pineal gland is actually how you see the world.
I think most people are, I know a ton of nonlinear people who actually, you're at a party, you can follow the conversation jumping around. For future podcasts, we might want to get a slightly, just talking out loud about the podcast. We might get a little bit more order just so we're not crazy town all over the place. We want people to be able to follow us. At the same time, we got to just find that middle ground so that we're also not, because we want to go where we want to go and we want to keep it interesting.
Right. Now, the thing about people following us is this is a metaphysical podcast. This is a philosophical podcast. Most of the time, these brilliant people are way ahead of us, which means we are the only people that are clueless at the moment. We are the only people who are not tapped into the actual conversation because we are generating it. However, people who do listen to us, who hear us say one thing about a pineal gland, then hear us say something completely non sequitur like the Egyptian pyramids were actually power plants.
Yeah, we're talking about 14 emeralds.
13 emerald tablets. We're all over it, but that's what Google is for, and that's what Wikipedia is for. Fake information. Everybody.
Fake information, ladies and
Grandma
gentlemen.
just posted about it, but read it. It's true.
But while we're talking, one thing I can tell you that is not fake information that is on this plane, and that is the beautiful taste of Bullet Bourbon Frontier Whiskey.
You know what? There is nothing like Bullet Bourbon. It has been a mainstay in my pantry since I figured it out, since I discovered it.
It's just so damn good.
Speaking of discoveries, did you know that there were more skeletons discovered that were from the size of 10 to 12 feet than those of 4 to 7 feet?
More 10 to 12 feet people than 4 to 7.
Yes, anything dating back over 100,000 years. Over 100,000.
You're saying things were bigger.
Bigger. There were giants.
What kind of skeletons?
Human.
Neanderthal.
Neanderthal.
Neanderthal. That's like the Irish way of saying it.
Neanderthal. Get your Neanderthal ass in the kitchen. That's the black way of talking Irish.
I like that.
So, people did used to be bigger. However, now what's happening is we are getting bigger again.
Wait, we're getting bigger or we're getting smaller?
We're getting bigger. You can see what is happening with
I thought
these
there was
high
hope
school
for me.
these high school recruits. You know what? I'm gonna have to take this.
All right, that's okay. We can hit pause on this.
Yeah.
Why don't we hit pause? Folks, we'll be right back.
Welcome back to the Conscious Matter podcast. We took our 59-minute break.
Sponsored by Bullet Bourbon.
If you want a bullet to the brain, who do you call?
Bullet bourbon.
Thank
Frontier
you very
whiskey.
much.
That's right.
Okay, so now that we've been listening to ourselves for an hour, we figured out that you don't really see the world through your eyes, you actually see it through the pineal gland. What else have we learned? We learned that there are 13 emerald tablets that have been transcribed by none other than Sir Isaac Newton, who's one of the
14 if you subscribe to the theory that I'm actually one of the living, breathing tablets.
You are a red tablet. You're a red tablet.
I'm from the Emerald Isle.
Nice.
My eyes are green. I look
Emerald
good and green. I'm
You
just
do.
saying.
You do. You need a green suit.
Were the writers of The Wizard of Oz onto this theory? You think that was an influence on their shit?
All I know about The Wizard of Oz is if you listen to it with the Pink Floyd album, it syncs up to the word.
I had the good fortune of Dr. Red Matter got to do that at Burning Man.
What do you think?
Camp was doing that. I couldn't concentrate at the time, so I left. But it was fantastic.
Yeah. Well,
The idea was
experience.
fantastic. In fact, I'm going to give a plug. I'm going to name drop, but it was Rosario Dawson and her crew,
Oh.
who couldn't have been sweeter, invited me to go. And we went out and met them, and it was really nice. And, you see a shiny thing at Burning Man, so you just go on. It's like great. It's like being in a giant museum of all the things you like and love, and go see what you want to see. It's like Please Touch Museum, So I didn't last long with that. I would have loved to see it, but at that particular moment in time,
You must have been so far gone.
I got the travel bug, and I said, I got to get on my bike and go into the night.
Wow.
Yeah.
And you rode off.
I rode off.
Man, you are a hero.
I rode off, but shout out to them because they were very sweet. I don't remember all the names of everyone.
The Rosario Dawson crew.
There was another
RDP.
Brian. Brian was fantastic. Rosario's friend Brian. They were a crew out of New York, and I used to live in New York, so.
Brians tend to do well in life. I haven't met too many loser Brians.
Oh.
Is that an anomaly? What's going on with that?
Oh, I think the name Brian means strength and virtue in Gaelic, but,
It's Bry on. Whatever the Bry is, it's on you. And it's working.
I like it. I like it.
Well, now
They don't know that out there.
Yeah.
I'm just Dr. Red Matter here.
That's Dr. Red Matter. We can edit that out. We're gonna
I'm not worried. I'm not worried.
Minute and 1 minute.
Oh, well, eventually they'll want
An hour and 1 minute. Okay, so aliens, do they exist? I just saw this thing on the Huffington Post where an alien flew into a volcano. Or a UFO, I should say. A UFO, I saw it.
That was the new Star Trek movie with Spock going
True.
into...
It was a trailer.
Oh, okay.
No, it wasn't a trailer. It was on the Huffington Post, which gives it some sort of credibility. It was on a city in Mexico. It has an active volcano, and here comes the UFO, goes right into it. And this was one of those stationary cameras that's always looking at the volcano in case it erupts.
Okay.
Who wants to videotape it? And they saw an anomaly fly right into it. Do you believe in UFOs, as in manned spaceships by interdimensional beings?
Well, this is a subject I'm very much interested in. Let me give you my sort of modus operandi on the whole thing right off from
I love
the
it in
beginning.
Latin. It's sexy.
Right off from the beginning. My take is this, before we go any deeper, is just, in general, in the general sense of the world, I'm a being on this planet. I think it would be extremely naive of me to rule out the possibility of life on other planets. It just, anyone who does that doesn't make sense to me. I don't know if I subscribe to all the X-Files sort of government scandal type of stuff, although we can get into that. But I'm talking about just, is there life on other planets? Is it not as developed as, say, we are at this point, because of their location to a heat source or to a water source or blah, 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 blah. But is it possible that other intelligent beings are out there? Absolutely. And I think I first realized that in, somewhere around like 10th grade biology. I had a great teacher, and that was sort of her take on it, and I agreed upon it. I don't think she knew one way or the other, and I don't think she had troubled herself with it all too much, but I had asked her. And it seemed like, yeah, that's just a very reasonable answer. It would be really crazy to just assume third rock from the sun, we're the only people out here. I mean, that'd be kind of arrogant, wouldn't it?
It would be. Now, there's evidence.
Mars rover, right? You just said there was water.
There's evidence of water on Mars, and also not only previously water on Mars.
So what happened? Is the planet got too far away? Got too cold? What was the deal with that?
Well, there's several ideas of what's happened. The soil samples from Mars. I love what you just did. My God. That's how a woman falls in love with a man. when she sees a ginger pour bourbon into a iced coffee that has been melted away into watery coffee, that's how you fix a drink.
This is fantastic. It's got a little mocha in there too. I don't know if you know that.
That's like a dirty martini.
Sugar-free mocha, and getting into my. How do we say it? Pineal
gland.
I'm sure it's not helping, but I believe this because it's sugar-free is flavored with some bullshit that I'm sure is not good for me.
I will tell you how to combat the calcification of the pineal gland through water. If you drink water and you take showers in fluoridated water, chances are your pineal gland's calcified.
I can't masturbate any more than I already do.
What does that have to do with anything? We'll get back to that later.
Sorry, I thought you were giving me a remedy for calcifying to stop my brain from calcifying. It's not that.
Oh no! If you masturbate, it will help decalcify the calcification.
I'm sorry. The bullet's taking its effect. It's moving through my brain.
What brain? All right. So where were we on this? Where was I going with it? I don't know where I was.
Aliens. We were talking aliens. You asked me, do they exist? I basically said we'd be very arrogant to think that no one else is around with us.
Right.
Now, whether or not it's Skulder and Mully. Or I said that all wrong, didn't I? Who am I thinking of? Mulder and Scully. Mulder and Scully. That came out. That was like a Freudian slip. But I mean the idea that it's all,
Well, crop circles. Are you a believer in crop circles, or is it bullshit? Is it a bunch of college students getting together and putting together the most impossible patterns known to humankind, undetected, unseen, and
I don't personally know. I don't have enough information about crop circles. This is probably your department. I don't know.
Here's a department
with those.
MIT. Have you ever heard of it?
Yes, I have.
There's some smart nerds at MIT, right? They said, you know what, guys? Let's do a crop circle. And they failed miserably. Not only because they're...
To make one? So what is the idea? A crop circle is the engines coming down, some sort of engine?
Absolutely not. There is no knowledge on a crop circle. However, what it does, let's say...
So are the crops bent? Are they burnt? What happens in a crop circle situation?
Let's say you've got an ear of corn that's about 4 feet high.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe not the ear, but the stem itself. What the UFO or whoever creates these crop circles do is they are able to bend each individual plant stem without breaking it. It continues to live and grow. It isn't hurt at all. It isn't broken. What they do is it bends down and into a shape, and it's only observable from a distance in the sky, because when you're in it, you're so deep in it, you don't know you're in it.
Mm-hmm.
You just look and there's not another
stem.
So
what is the idea? Is it a big? Is it like skywriting on the ground? Is it communication, or is it something landed?
There's a human being named Nassim Haramein. He actually finished Einstein's theory of relativity.
Now, I want to get into that in a minute because I just finished the Walter Isaacson book, which was delightful on Albert Einstein.
You will tell us about this.
Yeah.
Because I didn't read it. And I'm not a well-read man, to be honest with you. I just have knowledge because I'm a fake human being, and somehow all knowledge pours into me.
I don't like that. No, don't sell yourself short. This man has a lot of great knowledge.
Well, what I mean by fake
and believe me, folks, I love this guy, and I think some of his shit is twisted and as fucked up as it gets.
You're a lovely man.
But that's where I'm here to keep him in check.
Well, I don't mean fake as in oh man, you're not keeping it real. I mean as in, I'm not a real human being. I really believe I'm a Martian. I don't believe I'm from this planet. I don't agree with any of the practices on this planet of what is considered by society correct. Going out on 17,000 dates as a woman just because you're milking guys, I don't believe in that. being a guy, going out on 17,000 dates with women because you want to use women. I don't believe in that. But these are things our society does every single day that I don't agree with. That's why I'm a Martian. So, remind me again where we were?
Well, okay, we're talking about crop circles.
Right.
And are they communication? Are they remnants from landings of some sort engine? Because I wasn't even sure. I couldn't even remember if they were burnt, but you're saying they're bent.
They are bent, they are deliberate, and they always have a message that is usually...
Is that like an alien insult? Is that where the term "get bent" comes from?
Ha!
When you tell someone to go get bent? Like, it really originates, in like some Egyptian temple on some hieroglyphics.
It's a 5,000-year-old term.
Right.
Get bent.
Right.
You know what? No, that guy's got knowledge. You get an insult like that, you got to respect it.
Sure.
Well, these crop circles have information like what our DNA strands are like. No, you can't get 17 guys to go out into a crop circle field and demonstrate DNA, on a crop circle. You can't tell me that you can get 50 college students out who just want to rebel against the world, create a crop circle that has to do with the center of the Milky Way galaxy and where our planet is at that particular time, in accordance, in relation.
So what you're saying is these crop circles are maps.
Well, not only maps, but they have also been identified by Nassim Haramein as instructions on how to build a spaceship.
They're blueprints.
They are sending us information on how to build stuff. They are sending us information on who they are.
Well, this is where I got it. This is where I get, into the... It's like, if they're coming all this way and they're bending our corn crops, right? Which, by the way, why is it always corn? Why don't they land in, a goddamn tomato garden in Jersey or something? But I'm saying, okay, if they're going all this trouble, it's like at a certain point, why don't just give us the instructions? You're telling, is there contact or is there not contact? Is there government? It's like...
Who do they talk to? Who do they talk to?
I mean, I love the mystery, and it makes for great fiction, it makes for good movies, and the mystery of it all. But, I mean, if we're just talking real-world stuff and we're getting visitors from another planet, it seems like a long way to go about.
Well, how do you get information to the people without it being, number one, distorted, and number two, kept completely? Let's say they sent a message to the Pentagon. Do you think the Pentagon's going to tell the human beings of America what's going on?
I don't think that. But how do they know to get in touch with the Pentagon?
Well, because they obviously are pointing where their crop circles are going.
You're saying there's been a relationship. A lot of people believe there's been contact for many, many years now. Area 51, all that business. We've got a lot of our current day technology is based on some of the technology we've been given by alien technology.
Well, let me ask you this. Do you believe what the American dollar is worth? Yes or no? Yes, you understand what $1 means. Imagine pouring billions of dollars as a government, as a, we need to do this because it's real. Billions of dollars into building facilities, into researching, into traveling to the moon, into all types of endeavors.
Some people have you heard this theory, and I'm going to get into it a little bit, is that these visitors, these alien visitors, are actually humans from the future who have finally been able to time travel, and that we've had a bit of evolution. You get the little green men with bigger eyes, whether we've traveled to other planets and our eyes have had to get bigger and be able to, take more light or work in whatever the conditions are, and that they've now come back. I've heard that theory too. I've heard that.
I like it. However, I don't like the idea of why would they come back? Why? Oh, do they still care about their ex-girlfriend? Who do they care about? Exactly. Once you've made that turn, do you ever turn back? It's like, once you've progressed past a relationship, you don't turn back.
So, we've got visitors from another planet, or like in the Alien movie, which is a good take on it, or we're some sort of spawn from another civilization of some kind.
Okay, we're going to talk about Nassim Haramein. We're going to finish that. Then we're going to get into Zechariah Sitchin.
Love that cat right there.
Oh, man.
That guy's got some shit.
Pure truth coming from tablets.
Son of Anubis has regaled me with some great tales of this cat.
Yes.
And it's very interesting. Whether or not I'm not anywhere where I know if it's accurate or not, but I'll tell you this: it's goddamn entertaining.
Yes, it is, and life is entertainment.
Yeah.
Shakespeare kind of put it that way, loosely based. We're all actors in a play. Nassim Haramein completed number one. First of all, he completed Einstein's theory of relativity, and he's not even a college graduate. Just a purely brilliant human being. And he goes into crop circles in depth. There's the largest radio signal somewhere in the world, in Sweden or something. I don't know where it is. But it sends a message out into the universe. And this message says that we are carbon-based beings. We are made of this. This is our periodic table, all of our elements. And also sort of a little design in zeros and ones of what we look like. Now they take the zeros and ones message and they send it out into space, hoping in 10,000 years another life form will find it and hear it, decipher it, and respond. It takes no less than 4 years or 5 years. From where that message was sent, another response came in a crop circle. It said they are also carbon-based beings. They are also made of silica, which is what we are, because we're elastic. So they're kind of like us. See, that's silicone, and it's carbon-based. And they send it back. They say we are large heads, small bodies, and blah 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 and blah blah blah. More about them, and it's a pattern. It's a unbelievably amazing crop circle that no hooligans, no rebels are going to go out and be able to, first of all, pass over all of the security. There are, walls. There's cameras. There's all kinds of stuff for security to breach. To get there, to do the crop circle, and then to get out undetected, impossible. And plus, it was right next to where the original message was sent.
So you're saying it's got to be some sort of technology that we're not familiar in, stealth technology. You come in, you drop off your parcel, for lack of a better term, and you're basically leaving some blueprints for us to
advancement of human species.
And why? You think they're just like, oh, look at these poor folks. We got to help these guys out.
Well, what do we do for animals? Look at pets. Look at dogs. Look at cats. We look at them and we just want to help them. Am I right or wrong?
That's true.
Why wouldn't an alien's...
Well,
should we turn that down?
Yeah, maybe just I'm wondering if we're getting too much.
That's all right.
Here? Yeah.
The big silver one.
Okay, let's go to 11.
There we go. That's lovely.
Is that too low? Yeah.
No, I like it.
Need some twin size.
That's the roots.
Yeah, they're from Philly.
Gotta love them.
Good.
Philadelphia Half-Life is their first album, one of the first CDs I ever bought. Philadelphia Half-Life. Come on, guys, we keep it real around here. So yeah, nobody knows if these are hoaxes or not, but it's impossible to pull off, and it's impossible to recreate by the greatest minds of MIT. Impossible to recreate a single crop circle. Nonetheless, hundreds of crop circles that we don't hear about in the news every day. Look at all the monuments around the world. You have the Sphinx. You have what's that in your land in your neck of the woods? The Stonehenge.
Stonehenge over there in
Scotland, right?
Yeah. Well, I don't know. Stonehenge is in some part of Britain, isn't it?
It is.
It could be up north of Scotland. I don't know.
I'm very wrong.
I'm on the other island. I'm across the way.
That's true. You know where I come from? I don't even know where I come from. That's why I don't know geography.
We're all a mix. We're all who knows what we are. But well, the Stonehenge is.
You have Stonehenge. You have pyramids all over the world. You have the Sphinx. You have.
You got those big faces in the islands off the coast of South America.
Easter Island.
The Easter Island. You got those guys. You got pyramids in South America as well as Africa. Yeah.
You have large 100-ton structures that are moved far away from quarries. No one knows how they did it. No one can understand any of this business. However, we continue to ignore it daily. And what happens when you ignore true facts? You're going away from the truth. What does that mean in the large picture?
Ignoring true facts Going away from the truth.
You ignore the truth, so you learn to ignore the truth, and you are a being, an essence of truth.
Chris Carter would say the truth is out there.
And you know who else used to be the truth? The answer, Allen Iverson.
Oh, another Philly reference. I like it. I dig
AI,
it. I dig it.
baby.
We like Philly. We like that town. Philly's a goddamn good town.
I can bring it back. Oh, well, you have all these monolithic structures. This is a word that I've been searching for at least 14 seconds. Monolithic structures all over the world with no clue of how they were designed. No clue. You want to tell me that pyramids were built by slaves? You only had copper back then, and copper doesn't cut stone like that. Copper is weak. It will bitch out to stone any day. Now you have these statues that were carved out of one piece of stone, perfectly cut. I mean, symmetry on the face. Do you know what God's sacred geometry is? That is the Fibonacci sequence, which is when you see the Eye of Horus, it always has that little circle. That is pi, not pi, but that is
the Eye of Horus. Sacred. You're talking about that little guy on the dollar bill?
Yeah. Well, that's the all-seeing eye.
Uh-huh.
But when we're talking about the Eye of Horus, it also has this little circle twist at the end, and what that is the perfect ratio. The golden ratio is what I was looking for, which is A plus B equals C. A plus C equals D. A plus D equals F. So what it is a fractal.
I know what you people out there are thinking. You're thinking, pour him another drink.
This guy needs to get out of his high school geometry.
A plus B equals C, we're getting somewhere.
You know what I mean. So,
hey, just because we're talking science, folks, doesn't mean we're not going to break balls once in a while.
We got to break them. That's what they're there for.
All right, we're going again. This is we're being extremely responsible. Just so you know, we're not leaving the house.
We are not driving while podcasting.
We're in for the night here, just enjoying each other's company, putting it on tape for you guys to make sense of.
Just hetero good times. That's all people need to know because, they want to question everything. That is only because the question lies within themselves. You know what? We just went so metaphysical right now that we took it to homosexuality. We took it to gender. What is gender, Mr.
You want to skip off aliens and go to gender? I'll follow you.
You know what? People have had enough of this alien bull smack. You know what? They exist. They're all over the place. We are not the only planet with life. And what I was going to say earlier is Mars, the soil was tested and it used to be magnetized. What that means is it used to be just like Earth, but something weird happened. What happened? Perhaps a nuclear holocaust.
Ooh.
Now we're done with that. We finally finished one subject.
We're going to come back to that in another. We're going to come back to
We're not
this stuff, but we're not done with anything.
Nothing's finished on this podcast.
But we can change up the mood here for the bit. Like, when people come back and look at this pilot podcast, they're going to go, what the fuck? How fucked up were those guys? They're all over the place.
Are those guys on geometry or are they on psychedelics? No,
but I want to give them a. So we were meeting today because we just enjoy each other's company, and we were talking. We said, you know what? Let's just throw it down. We don't want to give ourselves any limitations the first time we throw a recording down. So you're getting it raw. You're getting it raw, dog, and it's live and it's honest and it's good stuff.
It's a podcast that doesn't have to do with being cool. It has to do with being truthful. So you gotta love truth because these guys are coming from a perspective that has been lost through time.
Yeah, we want to talk. We don't want to do a lot of bullshit inside jokes where, ha ha ha, you're the audience and you don't know what the fuck we're talking about. No,
did you see when they did that? No, we didn't because we weren't there.
We want you guys in the room with us because we're asking questions. We're talking about some things that we know about, a lot of stuff that we don't know about. And we're also going to bullshit some things that we just know because we're opinionated people.
We are going to discuss Zecharia Sitchin because not only do we jump around 15 different places, but we come back to 15 different places. With a slur, every once in a while.
Wait till we talk to Son of Anubis about chicks, man. That's going to be good.
I'll tell you what. Women are probably the dynamic of the universe. Without a woman, man does nothing. Because woman is the motivation for man. I can say romantic things. I'm a romantic cat.
Yes, you are.
So,
Possibly
thank you,
reptilian, but yes.
possibly 50% possibility pure reptilian.
But
Who
does
knows?
that change it? Because then you're laying eggs.
Well, I blink sideways. That's the only difference. Okay, so Zecharia Sitchin, who was this incredible historian, this incredible archaeologist? Well, he just happened to be a man who translated 100 plus thousand clay tablets.
100,000 clay tablets?
Yes,
Jeez.
these tablets were in a British museum.
It's a lot of tablets.
Could you imagine? And now, when I say a tablet, people think a tablet, like how small an iPad is. That is not a tablet. A tablet is how big that section of the couch is.
100,000? That's like you're talking a lifetime of information.
They were all discovered in modern-day Iraq. But they were discovered over 100 years ago, so it hadn't even been Iraq yet. It was, over 100 years ago. I'm talking about these were discovered 200 years ago. In the 1800s, they were discovered.
I don't know what it was.
They were discovered in
Mesopotamia or something.
It was Mesopotamia at the time, where the Tigris and Euphrates rivers meet is where they found these tablets. They were called the Sumerian tablets because they were created by the Sumerians. Who were the Sumerians? They were before the Egyptians in our timeline of evolution. They were before the Egyptians. The Sumerians occupied the land of the Tigris and Euphrates rivers, which is modern-day Iraq, and they left us clues in the form of a clay tablet with the first written language. The first written language was called, with a Brooklyn accent, was called Ancient Cuneiform Text, minus the Brooklyn accent. Cuneiform text. Now, in these texts, they depicted aliens. This is something that's going to get you, Dr. Red.
I'm listening. I'm just getting some ice.
Okay? This is a story that's going to be beautiful for you.
Okay.
These tablets were created nearly 3,000 years ago, yet they had a perfect depiction of our solar system, of the Earth being the third rock from the sun, of Pluto being out there, and a 10th planet that has not been recorded by man as of yet. Now, how do you feel when another civilization that did not have telescopes, that did not have technology, how do you feel when they have information that can tell you that they were able to properly place Earth in the solar system?
Well, I feel creepy about it. It's like, what's going on there? So is there some sort of travel we don't understand? Where's the info coming from? Is that planet gone? Has that planet been wiped out?
This is a great question because the planet, just like all planets, is in an orbit. Now, our planet takes 365 days or so to get around the sun.
Right.
That is one calendar year. This other planet, called the 10th planet, or Planet X, by Zecharia Sitchin, has an orbit of 3,600 years around the sun.
So you're just saying that we haven't seen it yet.
Correct, because we've been so far apart in the solar system that we can't see where it is at the moment. However,
not even with our best telescope, we can't see that.
Not even with the eye of God can you see it at the moment.
Interesting. Okay.
And it's supposed to be on the way back, which is why the Mayans ended their calendar on December 21st, 2012. Because they understand that this planet is called the Destroyer.
All right, but how do they know that? If they don't have half the technology we have current day, what are you saying? How do they know?
I'll tell you this. Let's put it in perspective, folks. The Mayans did not have an iPod. The Mayans did not have an oven. The Mayans did not have.
Are they slaves to some alien race, and that's how they've got the info? I mean, what are you saying?
Well, the Mayans were record keepers. I wouldn't be wrong if I said that the Mayans have the greatest, most accurate calendar known to mankind. How do you have a calendar First, you have to understand the stars, because without the stars, you can't understand day and time. So, through all the stars, these were map makers, these were star trackers. They understood the stars, and when you understand the stars, you have a window into the history of mankind, and you have a window into the future of mankind, because you may think it's silly, but the Farmer's Almanac, how do they know what day it's going to rain? The Farmer's Almanac?
Sure.
They tell you when it's going to rain, they tell you what's going on, they tell you exactly what's happening in the future.
Mm-hmm.
Do you think this is because they're farmers, or because they are studiers of the stars? The Mayans knew the stars, they kept an intricate record of the stars' movements. And when you understand the movement of a star, you understand what the cause will be. This is when we get into cause and effect.
Stars in their multitude,
I wish I could.
scarce to be counted, filling the darkness with order and light. Huh?
Nice solo!
I busted out a little Les Mis for you. What do you think of that?
Beautiful. First of all, Google it if you haven't Googled it. Drop that again for everybody who doesn't know what it is.
The song Stars from Les Miserables.
Oh,
Les Miserables.
Les Miserables, a great play that I've never seen. Thank
Yeah.
God. I can save myself that depression.
Yeah, you don't probably need to see that film.
Well, so Zechariah Sitchin,
Yeah.
as we were saying, translates over 100,000 clay tablets, and they turn out to be the creation of man.
It's a lot of clay tablets. That's a lot of clay tablets.
And they're not small, people. They are not like iPads. We are talking about the size of a large painting.
You're lucky to get 70,000 people into a Dodgers game or a Phillies game. Can you imagine if they're all the size of a couch going through all that? One guy?
And it's one guy. However,
How long did it take him?
it took him 30 years plus.
Oh.
Truly, to learn the language, it took him over 30 years. How long did it take you to learn
He's got to
English
teach
language?
himself a language, and then he's got to actually read what's going on.
How long did it take for you to learn the English language? At what point did you have the English language mastered? Age 7?
I still don't think I've mastered it.
Okay, well then...
However, I think I could speak, probably basic English you're speaking by the time you're 6 or 7 or 5 or...
So let's say it took you 3 years to master the language and 2 years to execute. Execution is everything. So it took this gentleman 30 plus years.
But maybe more, right? When do you have command of language?
You have command of language at age 7, then you become a smartass.
Right.
So every 7-year-old, you smartass son of a gun, I can't wait till you're 21 and I can beat you up. How about that?
Okay.
Otherwise, you learn language and then you learn how to execute a language. That's because you learn how to lift weights, then you learn how to work out. First, you got to learn how to lift weights. So, Zechariah Sitchin translated these 100+ thousand tablets, and he came up with the story of man. And very briefly, I'm going to describe to you the story of man as translated by Zechariah Sitchin.
Big shout out to Zechariah Sitchin.
R.I.P.
Is he living?
No. Man.
We were going to get him as a guest, but I guess that's out.
He did a lot of radio interviews, especially for Coast to Coast with Nuri. I forget his first name, but something Nuri.
Does Zach have a like a pupil or a student, somebody we could maybe get a hold of, come talk about what I hope he passed some of his stuff along.
Nassim Haramein may be the only person who will do an interview with us because he does interviews with everybody because he's so brilliant.
Okay.
Once you're brilliant, you do interviews with everybody. Nice catch. When you're not brilliant, you kind of hide your intelligence from everybody, because you don't want to be judged as non-brilliant. But Nassim Haramein has hit brilliance, and he does radio shows, podcasts, he does circle jerks. I don't know what else he does.
All right, I'm going to call him up.
Yeah. So, the story of man. UFOs, ancient alien space travelers, land on Earth because they did their research and they saw that this was a habitable planet with water and gold and minerals. They screwed up their atmosphere. And what you do when you screw up your atmosphere is you fly a plane up and down all day long, causing these chemtrails to block out the sun's radiation.
What is the purpose of chemtrails?
It is to block out the sun's radiation.
So it's a positive thing if you've already screwed up your planet.
It is a positive thing if you've already screwed up your planet.
Because I think people think chemtrails are something different.
Well, the conspiracy theory is that they are planting chemicals into the atmosphere, which then mix in with the clouds and all the condensation and then get poured down on you, or you drink that water, which means it comes into your system.
And we're back to fluoride.
And we're back to conspiracy.
We're back to conspiracy.
Basically, life is conspiracy theory and dates.
Yeah, but I'm gonna come out just so the audience knows where we're coming from. I got an old buddy who posts a lot of stuff about conspiracy theories, and he's so far gone with this stuff that I want to give him a slap. I'm like, bro, I'll hear a reasonable theory on some stuff, but at a certain point, I think some of them get ridiculous.
Yeah, reptilians to me is a ridiculous notion. Although I can believe that there is a dimension, a different planet, where reptilians could exist.
You're saying they're not here and hiding.
I don't think that they're living among us doing CNN interviews. Because if you look at conspiracy theory on YouTube, you can see like Michelle Obama turning into a reptilian, which is all CGI and very ridiculous business. And that's not what kind of thing we're talking about.
No.
The reptilians we're talking about are, let's drop basic knowledge. How long have human beings through recorded history been on Earth? 300,000 years, give or take.
Well, definitely not from recorded history, not 300,000.
Yes. I mean, we have skeletons from like 200,000 years.
Oh, you're saying modern day way of dating. I thought you meant like, written language. And,
No.
Okay.
The first written language was...
Maybe on the wall carvings and all that. It could be right, yeah. I don't know.
Let's just say, for argument's sake, it's we've been around for 300,000 years. You know how long reptiles have been around? Do you know how long dinosaurs were around? They were around for hundreds of millions of years. Hundreds of millions of years of evolution.
Did Jesus ride a dinosaur? I've seen that picture quite a bit.
Jesus rode a dinosaur. Jesus walked on water. Jesus turned water into wine. Jesus made a cripple walk. Jesus turned the blind into the seeing. You know what? Jesus, I want to be your best friend. But I don't think you exist. Actually, in my heart of hearts, I don't believe Jesus existed. I believe Jesus was a prophet, a man of God.
Listeners in the South or in the Bible Belt, don't leave yet.
They've just shut us down.
Yeah.
They've just turned it to SEC sports all day.
Yet. We still have some mutual beliefs. We still believe in bullet bourbon, bringing the world together.
I'll tell you what, if Jesus existed today, he would drink bullet bourbon.
Oh, no doubt.
That's about as good of a commercial as you can get.
Yeah.
Yes, Jesus Christ was a human. He walked this earth, and he was an enlightened being. Was he the Son of God? Was he conceived from a woman without man? I don't believe any of that nonsense. But I do believe that Jesus could talk to you, and he could open you up.
But just like the son of Anubis, maybe Jesus in his mind was the Son of God.
He didn't write his own history, though, which means in the other eyes of men, he was the Son of God.
Well, now we're getting to earthly religion, which I like to connect to the whole alien thing because say we go by Judeo-Christian or Muslim beliefs or
we call it
Buddhist beliefs, Judo-Christian beliefs, right?
Judo-Christian beliefs.
Right. So whatever it is you may believe, so you've got all this going on the planet. I always go, well, all right, so let's assume that we agree that there's the possibility of aliens, and they come down, and out on planet X, XYZ, whatever it's called, do they have their own religious story? And do they have multiple religions like us within their species and cultures and races? And are they warring on their own planet like we do here? And it's a shitstorm, or have they gotten past that to the point where they're doing intercosmic travel? And they're at the place, and we've got some great writers that sort of fictionalize this stuff. But, I like throwing a little pop culture, because we all watch this stuff. But the idea of, in that Star Trek movie, I really like that idea. It was one of the other ones with the old crew with Shatner and Spock and all this. But Next Generation, when humans established a warp drive, that was the signature to go, okay, now we can go talk to them. Now they're ready.
Well, I think we are past the moment of ready, and we are at the brink of destruction. What is the next phase of humanity? Can you, with a straight mind, tell me what the next phase of humanity is? Is it more love or is it more destruction? Just take a second. I want you to.
Oh God, for me, I
think
hope
about
it's
that.
less sunblock. I hope it's fucking. I hope we get this. We heal this planet, man. Planet's got a fever. Can we get it healthy, man? Why are we killing ourselves with all this bullshit, man? I want to,
Well,
cancers and that's the shit that bothers me right now.
take all of the skin cells on your knuckle at this moment. Do you
Okay.
think they are your consciousness?
I do not.
But they are conscious beings.
Skin
Right?
cells on my knuckles are conscious beings?
Yes, they are.
I would disagree with that.
Well, I wouldn't disagree. I'll tell you why. I mean, I do disagree. I'll tell you why.
Okay.
Let's say you cut your knuckle boxing.
Yes.
Just hitting the punching bag, you cut your knuckle. You know that that knuckle is going to be repaired?
Will heal itself.
Yes. Not itself, truly, because the body is doing all of it, but it sends messages saying we're hurt.
Connected.
It is completely connected with a consciousness.
And at least in the human body, I mean, we have a great, the whole body is designed to heal itself.
Can you believe how we get erections? That's probably the most amazing instrument of the human body. Now, what does that say? Does that mean your dick is dead? Does that mean that the cells on your penis are not conscious? You know what? I'll tell you. Let me argue this. And even though we're talking lowbrow, we're actually talking very highbrow, because when your dick is stimulated, and pardon my French, ladies, but you're all cocksuckers anyway. So you know.
Oh, for the love of God! Now, don't insult our French ladies or our ladies out there.
Well, you know what? It's a beautiful thing. It's a beautiful act. It is a way of showing appreciation to a human being. So don't take a negative tone to it. What I'm saying is the penis has its own consciousness, because at times it wakes up and at times it doesn't want to wake up.
As much as I'd like to dispute this experience, it's led me to believe that, yes, that sometimes it is acting alone.
The penis has its own consciousness.
And
You
while
can't
attached
control
to me, we are not in accord or agreement about what we're doing.
Many a time.
Yes.
Now that is because it has its own consciousness, which means it must have its own mind, which means ignorance is bliss. What does ignorance is bliss mean? It means you don't know what your body's doing. It means you have no clue what's actually going on in this physical world. Ignorance is bliss because your heart acts on its different accordance from the brain, from the balls. Everything has a different consciousness. 3 different consciousness. Where does this come back? The Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit. Are they all within you? The Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit. Are they all within you?
Did you just drop some Catholic Trinity in my fucking nether region? Is that what you just did?
Judo! Christian chop! That's how we do it.
Oh, God.
We haven't plugged consciousmatter.org enough. Please go to the site.
We don't have
Bullet Bourbon has been providing us with the mental brain power and telepathy to do this podcast. And it truly is true. You know, the penis has its own cells physically, its own cells, which means it has its own consciousness, which means it has its own mind. So your knuckles, whether you want to believe it or not, have their own consciousness. Because when they are hurt, they send out a message to the main source, and the main source says, "Okay, I'm going to send repair." And then your skin becomes a scab, becomes skin.
Well, I don't question that it's a symbiotic system, no doubt about it.
Now the question is whether there is consciousness. You seem, and this was all from the Earth. This was all conversation stemming from whether the Earth has a pulse, whether it has consciousness. We, human beings, are hairs on Earth. We have a connection to Earth, and we communicate constantly with Earth. How do we communicate with Earth? It is by eating, by consuming. When you consume plants and vegetables, you're actually taking in information. When you eat fish, you're taking in information. When you eat genetically modified organisms, you are taking in that information, which, my friend, causes cancer. So, getting back to everything that you kind of touched upon.
Not everything modified has to cause cancer, but do modified things cause cancer? No doubt about it. Chemical things that are foreign bodies to our bodies that are not in concert with what our bodies need become.
Well, we don't want to
the term
confuse.
adversarial. Does that make sense? Maybe it doesn't.
Well, you confuse the body when you bring in. When you bring in cells that are genetically modified, you are confusing the body, which means the body goes, which one is real? These genetically modified cells or these cells that are real? So cancer is caused by the body being confused and creating more anti-cells than healthy cells. So it starts creating this tumor, this malignant or
that's what I was talking
benign.
about with that article. The I Fucking Love Science article was fantastic. I got to find that link for you today.
Please
but it was a
do.
great little thing about how you mutate your cells. So there's a good deal of environment, but I think this article was leaning towards the idea of like, yeah, sure, environment, but you are physically, physiologically and chemically and what have you affecting your cells for the next generation based on what you experience in your environment and how you behave and what you put into your body, and it basically leaves a marker that gets passed on in your cells.
Can you imagine that your blueprint is constantly redrawn? Your blueprint of who you are is constantly redrawn by the information that you receive from your environment.
Sure, and this article is about, with our technology, how we're going to be able to modify ourselves to hopefully get rid of some of the bad shit and hopefully some of, and keep the good shit. Now, I know a lot of people, especially religious people, worry about this sort of thing. And again, I love another, matter-conscious tangent, but it's like, is that the way the human race is supposed to go on this planet? Maybe that's part of the evolution, that we've gotten big enough brains where we're supposed to be able to find these proteins and these things that latch onto our cells, and maybe through our own science and study, we are supposed to elevate ourselves to the next level where we're not naturally inclined, because my grandmother, liked to hit the bottle or something. Maybe I don't have depression, or I like to hit the bottle as much.
Okay, so, we're talking hereditary versus environment. Everything is a stimulus.
And I'll just tell you, let me just put in a little personal knowledge in there. I don't like to live like that. I don't like, you can sit around, I feel like there's a lot of blame in our society, a lot of, oh, well, this did that, and this equal, it's like, if that's great, if you're genetically inclined, fantastic. If we can see that on a blood test or something and fix it and help it, that's great. But I don't want to spend a lot of time thinking about what somebody did 80 years ago and blame them for what's going on.
Yeah, and that's why I'm a firm believer that you are your environment. You know how I judge a human being? It is by the 5 closest people to that human. It is never based on that single person's actions or inactions.
Would you say my environment's very sexy?
I would say your environment has sex appeal.
all right.
Now, the reason I say sex appeal versus sexy, because if it's sexy, then it's sexy to me. If it's sex appeal, that's worldwide, man. Anywhere you go, you got sex appeal, and that's a true fact.
But I'm suggesting it's both.
I'm with that. Are you free Friday night? Excellent.
Right.
Pour me some bourbon,
Yes,
sweetheart.
indeedy. Oh, boring. Here we go.
Well, this is consciousmatter.org. What you can do to help us
With
is...
Son of Anubis and Dr. Red Matter.
Dr. Red Matter, Son of Anubis. We are consciousmatter.org with a cat in a weird position. What we can do is provide you more intellectual stimulation. This is something that you can do while you sit around and smoke whatever you smoke. This is something you can do while you sit around and drink whatever you drink. This is something you can do while you're working out. This is something you can do while you're on a date. Hey, listen, baby, I found this great podcast. Why don't we twist a couple of these
listen
things?
to these two nuts. They're just talking it out like we do.
You know, actually not like we do, because most people don't have this ability to completely be free. Because you know what? Guess what? When you're on a date, you are pretending. Are you not? I mean, come on. When you're on a first date, you are giving the best Dr. Redman that there is to be.
Yeah, I mean, well, everyone's full of shit to a certain degree. You know, it's like a process. Can you avoid it? I don't know. I think there's something lost with certain degrees of chivalry, but is it a question of, you know, I tell my buddy this who's dating quite a bit, and it's like, yeah, I mean, you don't know. I think that's the conversation with men and women. I think men don't always know anything. I think the conversation starts once sex has been had.
Right.
Whereas I think, and this is not a slight necessarily, but it could be misperceived as one. It's like, you know, women, you go through these motions, and basically a man is, you know, shaking his head and smiling and trying to be on his best behavior as much as he can until you have sex, and then you go from there. You go, are we sexually compatible? Because it's such a drive in men.
Well, not only men, but isn't it completely a drive in women also? Could you imagine a woman saying,
right.
"Oh, the sex is horrible, but I am so in love with this guy"? There's no way.
But different triggers to get to different places, and that's where we get into a whole other podcast where we're just talking about what makes the male and female mind tick, and you know, men are from Venus and all that bullshit. It's like, well, why is it? Did God play? If there's a God, did an alien play a crazy joke to just make us, you know, have to chase this thing? Why's it got to be so difficult?
Well, this is why it has to be difficult, because thank you very much for tying us back into Zechariah Sitchin with who we are, men and women. He discovered through translating these Sumerian tablets that humanity was created simply by these space travelers who did not want to mine for gold in the Tigris and Euphrates rivers themselves. Because it's hot, it's humid, there's mosquitoes, there's problems. Now, these space travelers came to Earth, theoretically, not only theoretically.
You'd think if they came all that way in a spaceship, they'd have a good mosquito net, but that's just me. Go on.
What if they didn't have mosquitoes on that sweet planet of theirs?
You think they'd come prepped? How'd they get through the atmosphere?
Well, how do you know there's going to be
I'm just
mosquitoes?
saying there's a lot of problems. You go to the beach, I know I need sunblock, I need a towel, I need a hat, and on a good day, an umbrella.
Very true.
I'm just saying, if I'm going to go, I know I'm going to bring some shit.
Let's say they did bring it. Let's say they did. But then 1 day goes by, 2 days go by, 400 days go by, 600 days go by. I'm tired of doing this. Whether you're equipped or not. You're tired of mining for gold in the Tigris and Euphrates rivers.
So what are you saying? You whip up some Mesopotamians?
What they did was take a look around at the next closest being, and it was some sort of apish human. It was some sort of Cro-Magnon. It was some sort of hominid.
Hominid, good word.
Love it. And they looked and they said, you know what? Let's mix. So they took their DNA, they took the DNA of the hominids, and they created in no other than a test tube, my friend.
Oh boy.
Hey boy. And you know what they named it? Adam.
I knew you were going to say that.
Do you know what the name of their...
So now we're back to some alien Ridley Scott shit. You're saying that our species is, we've got part alien DNA, is that what you're telling me?
20% of human DNA is not found in nature, is what I'm telling you. 20%. 20 is a lot.
20% of human DNA
is not found in nature. We are 98% similar to a chimp. The 2% that we have that is not similar to chimp, 20% of that is not found in DNA.
Let me make sure I follow that math.
98% of our DNA is similar to a chimp.
Okay, so that leaves 2%.
Of that 2%, 20% of it, 1/10, is not found in nature, anywhere in nature. 1/10 of us is not found anywhere in nature, yet we are the only animals that have consciousness. We are the only animals that have 10% of our brain. Ooh, God, that's deep and beautiful. We have 10% of our brain
that we use, you're saying.
That we are capable of using.
Right.
You know, how much of his brain is he using, pointing to a cat that is asleep on a very, very nice massaging chair?
We have bored into... he is just sleeping.
He's got the best seat in the house. How much of his brain is he using? Some would say 100% of his brain. Some would say 0% of his brain.
What do you say?
I say the cat's using 100% of his brain. He's doing everything he has to do to be happy. As a human, we are doing 10% of what we have to do to be happy. Is this correct? See, what makes that correct is chaos theory. How I come up with these numbers, how I come up with these statements, is I understand everything is pure chaos for a human because we are the only ones that are conscious of our own nudity. He doesn't know he's nude, pointing to male cat. Cat doesn't know he's nude. We know we are nude, therefore we cover. And what are we covering? Not the physical being, but actually the mental space. Because if you mentally were a nudist, you would be naked.
I'm pretty sure he not only knows he's nude and is looking at us like, why aren't you guys nude? He's like, you guys don't get it.
He's using
I'm pretty
100%.
sure that cat thinks that we're morons.
He's using 100%, which is basically what I'm saying. And, for us, we're using 10%. We're using a community brain of like, what does everyone think is cool? Okay, I'll do that. What does everyone think is smart? Okay, I'll do that. What does everyone think is funny? Okay, I'll do that. That is the 10%. So we are taking ourselves down from 90 or 100 to 10.
It's very interesting. It's all very interesting.
So these aliens, what we're saying as humans, are genetically modified organisms. We come from hominids. We come from...
So they engineered us in to be their servants?
Yes, we were the ones who ended up mining the gold for these...
All right, well, now you and I, we're at the level now. We're sitting here talking about it with a podcast. Where are they? Are they still out there? Are we still their servants? What's happening?
Well, theoretically, they're on Planet X, which takes 3,600 years to orbit the sun, which means we have been alive on
that planet you mentioned, that's where they're from?
That is where they are from, my friend, because it is left in the tablets. It is left in the tablets that depict...
How long till this planet's back?
Well, it was supposed to be back December 21st, 2012.
Well, that's bullshit.
But we don't know anything because we don't know anything, number one.
Well,
when is this
saying the Mayan calendar is pretty accurate? It doesn't seem so to me.
You're taking my word, which I'm incorrect about the Mayan calendar. The Mayan calendar ends on December 21st, December 12th. December 21st, 2012. They don't know what happens after that. Maybe that is the day that the Great Destroyer is back in our solar system. Who cares how long it takes for it to crush us if this thing is going to come back? Who knows? But maybe the December 21st is a significant date because it is the date that Planet X comes back into our solar system.
But you're saying they traveled here anyway in some starships.
However, the whole planet is going to come back.
But you're saying that they're here quite a bit. They're visiting. They're doing...
I never said they're here quite a bit.
Are these the same guys, leaving crop circles and instructions?
Could be. We don't know. I think there's so much life out there that we can never know how many different species of life there is. What I'm saying is the people who left those tablets were in touch with an alien race that created them. And they left the tablets for all of us. They buried them underground. They left the tablets for all of us to discover. You know what? This has been ConsciousMatter.org. Thank you, Dr. Red Matter.
Is that it? ConsciousMatter.org. Wow, we got a lot to wrap our brains around. We got lots more to talk about.
We have a lot to talk about.
Barely scratched the surface.
Subscribe. You can subscribe to this podcast via YouTube. You can subscribe to this podcast via ConsciousMatter.org. And you know what? We've got 30 seconds left. Dr. Red Matter, anything you want to leave us with?
I am Dr. Red Matter because red matters. This is Son of Anubis here, and we're just happy to conversate with you. I don't know if conversate's a word, but I've had some bullets to the brain. And, yeah, man, we just want to talk about interesting stuff, get into the mix, get deep, and enjoy, and hopefully provide you guys with some entertainment while we go about it.
It's lovely. Thank you, Dr. Red.